and gentlemen, if we can call the meeting to order, if you all would join me, please. Mr. Rivers, if you would give us an invocation, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for what we'll be discussing today. Always remind us of who we're working for and why we're doing what we do. In the name and nature of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the first order of business on our agenda today is the approval of our meeting minutes from April the 11th.
Move for passage.
Thank you. Motion made. Any second?
Second.
Mr. Davis, Senator Davis, second. Any comment? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, and I note that Senator Davis has Senator Campson's proxy who could not be here today, and I have Representative Herb Kurzman's proxy who could not be here today. Ms. Maxey has written copies of those, and you have Mr. Williams?
Yes, somewhere.
Representative Williams, okay, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The next order of business on our agenda, ladies and gentlemen, as you recall, earlier this year, there were some issues with regard to the Beaufort County primaries and redistricting, and the county completing that process. You all, as you know, we had conversations at that time about what the delegation's role is, and that being limited to the appointment of the election board, but that at our next meeting, we would ask the state folks, Mr. Knapp, as well as Marie Smalls, to come in and have a conversation with us so that we understood what happened and what, if anything, we need to make sure does not happen again. So with that, Mr. Knapp and Ms. Smalls, are you here as well? Yes, ma'am, there. Good to see you this morning. Good morning. We appreciate you being down here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having me, Mr. Chairman and members of the delegation. I think you all have a copy of the report in front of you. It is, as you can see, pretty thick, but the actual report itself is only approximately 11 and a half pages. So to explain what occurred in Beaufort County during the primaries, we had to look at the entire redistricting process, starting at the beginning. So this report is an effort to explain how the redistricting process unfolded here in Beaufort, how certain actions or inactions led to the issues that we all saw happened. Like I said, the report itself is only over a little over 11 pages, with the summary on pages 10 and 11. So that's the abridged version. As you can see, the majority of the report is appendices, and I added these documents not just to prove the report's findings, but to show this was a multifaceted journey. It was complex, it was long, from the beginning of redistricting to the day Beaufort County certified the election. So following the summary, the report outlines a few steps the State Election Commission is taking to ensure these issues do not repeat themselves. So I'm here to take any questions you have. I'm here at your discretion.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah. Senator?
Just a quick question. I apologize if we're all looking around. We don't actually have the report in front of us. Is it possible to maybe get the report copy and then have him come up at a later time to give us a chance to review it?
Well, I'm asking, Ms. Erickson, I think, is asking Ms. Maxey right now. As mentioned, the report, I mean, there was the report was emailed to the delegation office. It's over 200 pages, but those are just the appendix. The report itself is only about 10 pages. And before I left my office this morning, I actually was able to get my assistant to find it and print it for me online. Ms. Maxey, I think, is going to try to get somebody down the hall right now to print it and get copies of it. But given the fact that it's only 10 pages, how about walk through the report and then
Sure.
we'll each have the 10-page report, not necessarily the appendix.
200s, yeah, absolutely. So let me separate that real quick. So the first 6 pages explain the redistricting timeline.
give me 30 seconds while that, I mean,
That's fine. I'm here.
Copier should be
That's
fairly
okay.
simple.
Yeah.
And I think that we have, ma'am?
I mean, I'm here until y'all adjourn. So.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Mr. Knapp, I'll tell you what, while we're making copies, in order to be efficient, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, and then we'll come back to you.
Yes, sir.
If we can. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item are the PARD Development Fund requests. There are two of them, one from the town of Yemassee, one from the city of Beaufort. Is there anybody here from the town of Yemassee? Well, Mr. Senator Davis, I know that you had expressed some interest in this. I recall that Paul Somerville from County Council had sent some letters of support around about this earlier. It's in the packet. The project name is the Marine Corps Tribute Park, and it's the creation of a park with swing sets, benches, gazebo, water feature, grilling area for a picnic facility, and enclosed area for the proposed dog park. And the request is for $25,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve just so we can get to a discussion phase.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? You know, if I recall, the support that went around for this project was, you know, essentially had all the support of the members of the delegation at the time, but we just needed the formality of the meeting. So in your packet is the information specifically about the project. I've got the endorsement form to pass out, and then also our PARD fund balances are included. We have available for allocation. It looks like $108,000.
This one.
You see the report?
I thought you said 108.
No, 108, and we've got, with the two requests today are 25 and for 80, so that's 105.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, please.
Please?
Mr. Chairman, before, when we had shared this information online, it was a very good report. It was lacking some of the financial budget numbers. And that was the only holdup that I had from it. It's now got that budget fully listed in the entire application. And I appreciate the town of Yemassee doing all of that work and sending us the plats and things for some of us who may not be as familiar with that area as we were. So I have no further questions since the budget of the overall project has been spelled out and listed, and their timetable is listed as well. So the question that I had has been answered.
Good.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. I think that there was a question of timing as well, that obviously we needed to process this at a meeting rather than outside the scope of the meetings, and that so that we had all the potential applicants in front of us or applications that were necessary. But I'm in favor of it too, and so on behalf of Mr. Kurzman, we're both willing to support the endorsement. There's no further question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The endorsement form is being circulated. The
Chip Campson votes in the affirmative.
Okay, good, thank you. The next is the City of Beaufort, Washington Street project. This is to remove existing basketball court, relocate to a new location in the park, and create a new open play field. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you? Welcome.
Good, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank the delegation because Washington Street Park, as you know, we've been building on since 2017. It's one of the oldest parks in the city, and it was the first African-American park in the city. Did a facility 2017-18.
Is your mic on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. The Washington Street Park is one of the oldest parks in the city. It was developed in the early 20s, first African-American park that was built in the city. There you go. Okay. And the delegation has helped us with funding of various phases that we've had with this park. We built a bathroom there in 2017-18. We put children's play equipment in. And what this is the next phase, which is removing the basketball court. And of course, as you know, within the city, there's always infrastructure underneath. So it costs more because of infrastructure, water, sewer, et cetera, which is there to make sure it's done right. So we're asking for $80,000. The project's is estimated to come in around $100,000. So it'll be $20,000 of city match funds.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Senator.
I believe I read a wonderful story about this in the paper a few weeks ago. Is that right? With
Yeah.
Ed Allen and Bobby Jenkins, and they were talking about how it was, I guess back earlier in the 1900s was a place for African Americans primarily to that was their space and their park. Is that correct? It was a great story.
That is correct, and not only that, one of the swings was the original one that's there, and we've retrofitted it. So, and they've asked it to be kept in the same location because today, I'll say grandparents my age are happy to see that their children that they played on it, and it's used, and it's becoming a beautiful, well-used park for the Northwest Quadrant and the downtown area.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So the basketball courts now, where they going to be relocated to?
That is in the master plan, sir. I honestly couldn't tell you. It's going to be in the area where on the original master plan it was laid out with the community where they wanted to have it located.
You're not sure which street that's going to be on?
Linda, do you know what?
It's on the east side and it's on the master plan. If you pull up the master plan, it's on the east side of the park.
Okay.
And it's going to be a half basketball court along with a multi-use court.
Okay. And the reason why I asked the question is not because I was going to play ball. Those days are over. But in the city of Beaufort, there's not a lot of things for the young people to do. And, the Green Street Gym is gone. Boys and Girls Club is gone. So it seems like we want to try to find something to give them something to do.
That's what we're doing there, and also with the cooperation of the county, when we do, which has nothing to do with today, the Southside Park, we're going to be putting in a full court, basketball court, in both between the county and the city property in that area, so that there are more things for the young people to do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The photograph in your packet attached to B4 is the old basketball court.
Correct.
And even if you were to leave it there, it's in such disrepair.
Correct.
It's almost dangerous for the children to play on. They're tripping hazards, broken concrete, and this park does get a lot of use. I love seeing the children and families down there. You put great picnic tables in that area, and it serves Northwest Quadrant, yes, but we find people from all over the area coming because it's a really nice location, easy parking. So I really appreciate all the work that the collaboration has done on getting this park rejuvenated and the right kind of stuff. The master plan, Mr. Rivers, I think we're gonna like having that court be bigger and on a corner area, probably a little bit more visible for everybody in the master plan.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. President, I appreciate it.
It's very nice to look at when I go to the barbershop, Singleton's barbershop. So I see a lot of activity there, so it's nice.
Well, I think the other thing that park gets used, I won't say every Friday, but many Fridays for the community to have different dinners, cookouts, et cetera. So it's a well-used park.
I would move for passage, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
Move for passage.
I think there's already
Okay,
a
then.
motion to just see if there's any further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's the endorsement form. Okay. Next are the county water rec and game and fish fund request. Is Adam or Andrew here from
Andrew's here.
DNR?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Never seen him before in my life.
Oh, man. Everybody else is out of town, so y'all got stuck on me. So, good morning. see before you the request from DNR, Water Rec and Game and Fish Funds. The first one is a 19 Pioneer, complete package, and that is a replacement boat for a boat that was destroyed in an accident. Second item is the oyster shell public shellfish grounds replanting. So I think we do that about every year where we replant the oyster beds. And then a monofilament recycling station. These are like the tubes you see that are put up at the different landings and docks. And then the last is the ATV Honda 4-Trax trailer. It's an entire package. This was approved last year, but due to supply and demand and with the vendor, they upped the price. So we're asking that this year we cover the rest of that price. So it was already approved last year, and the majority of the money comes out from that, but the additional money we're asking this year to be included to finish so we can buy that ATV package for Beaufort County.
Do you know what that number is? I mean, the information that we got was that what we approved last year, I'm looking at the endorsement form, was $8,009.
Right, I want to say,
Vendor demand price increased, it says, to approximately 10. Adam will have the exact numbers.
yep. Y'all got me. Let me see if I have.
It's on the table, all right?
It says exactly that in my email as well. I want to say it was like $1,200 difference.
It's 9,209.
But I don't have that exact in my, that's just what's popping out in my head right now.
Why don't we, y'all want to say not to exceed 11,000? I mean, at least if we've got a number, does that get you enough money?
Yes, sir.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so 3 requests, one for the Discovery Vessel Education trips, $5,000, a new outboard, Suzuki 140 outboard motor, $9,318.26. The 2 project requests of $14,318.26. That's out of the fish and game request. The balance in our fish and game fund is $55,259.10. The balance in the water rec fund is $91,000. And the additional amount,
3,000.
$3,000. Get a motion?
Yes.
And also the extra $3,000 from 8 to 11, is that
I
correct?
think
That's in
probably
there.
just putting it at 17,318.26 takes care of the 3,000. I would second.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a breakdown in the approval form. So this is the new approval form plus last year's approval form with it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, did we vote?
No, we haven't.
We're back to
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate you being
Good to see
here.
you, Andrew.
Okay,
You want
next.
to go back to the election?
Yeah, well, actually,
Or you
we
want-
will go back to Mr. Knapp. Everybody should have a copy of the, without the appendix, but at least the executive summary or the summary of the report. Mr. Knapp, I think what is probably helpful is we just need to understand what happened.
What happened?
How didn't redistricting get completed? How do, you know, what do we need to do to make sure that it doesn't happen again? You know, this wasn't the first election that I know I received, and I'm sure other members of the delegation received. You all began to put out the election night reporting information. I think your report is important to explain why Beaufort County, why what happened here did not allow that to happen. But this is not the first election in recent history that Beaufort County information seems to not be on the state information as quickly as the rest of the state information And a number of folks I know reach out to me as a member of the delegation, as well as others on the delegation, complaining. While we don't have a direct role in it, obviously we do appoint the board.
Sure.
So with that, we look forward to hearing.
Okay. So to kind of do a high-level walkthrough of the report, pages 1 through 6 explain the redistricting timeline of Beaufort County. It's all about redistricting. Middle of page 6 is where the SEC was alerted to the issues that we're all here to talk about on June 8th, and what happened during early voting. Page 7 is the scope of the overall problem. So basically, let's go to page 7. Approximately 70 voters have been given a ballot with the wrong county council seat on the ballot. And that was across 15 precincts. I'm not going to read them out loud. You can see them there. I believe that's basically the southern tip of Hilton Head and the eastern part of Bluffton. 2,038 voters in those 15 precincts were not redistricted by Beaufort County. And then that's just in those 15 precincts. And then overall, in the whole county, 3,237 voters in total were not redistricted at the county council level. It's important to focus that this issue is a county council race issue.
When you say we're not redistricted, meaning they were left in their prior
County council district.
The record showed them still being in the previous county council district.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So going on to page 8, that we talk about what the state did. We worked with the Beaufort County office and Director Smalls to remediate the issue on the spot. So we have an early voting issue, which is where this all.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Knapp. Let's go back to page 7. if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
would. I've read this sentence under that's delineated as number 2. 2,038 voters, as you said, and those 15 precincts were not redistricting by Beaufort County office. However, the SEC found that 3,237 voters in total were not redistricted at the county council level throughout the entire county. Give me an explanation of what's the difference and what caused that 1,200 vote difference between 2,000 and 32. What's that basically saying in?
The 2,000 number is just those just all the voters in those 15 precincts. The 3237 number is all out, including that 2,000 number, and then the additional 1,200 outside of those 15 precincts. So
across the county.
the entire county.
Okay.
Like in
And what caused
pockets.
that?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it's as difficult as this is. It was even harder to try and write it. So 70 voters got the wrong county council district when they went to go vote in early voting. 70.
Yeah, but 2,000.
But 2,000 were affected in those 15 precincts.
Okay.
But the total number of people that did not get redistricted at the county council level, meaning they were stuck in their old district, was over 3,200 people
I got it.
in the whole county.
Sure.
And were those races generally? I wasn't at the last meeting. I had to send a proxy. Were those heavily contested races?
So I don't have those numbers. I can tell you not all county council districts had races at all in the primaries. They were not contested, which is why, you know, if you're looking at how many people actually got the wrong ballot, it was the Republican voters in those 15 precincts, because that was a Republican primary that were impacted. So the 3,200 number, a lot of those 3,200 people didn't even have a primary in which to vote in June, because they're, you know, either that seat was not up or there was no contested primary.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Senator.
Mr. Chairman, I think there are some things in the summary here that the public needs to hear, and I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud because it raises concerns in my mind about what's happening. As was mentioned, redistricting is an infrequent, complex, and time-sensitive process. However, as this report shows and the various appendices illustrate, Beaufort County was not on a compressed timeline to complete the county council redistricting process, unlike many other counties. Also, unlike many other counties, Beaufort County has an experienced director and staff who have been involved in past redistricting cycles. Beaufort County is also a large county with adequate local resources, i.e. adequate staffing in the voter registration election office, seemingly sufficient funding to accomplish its mission, and a county GIS office that provided assistance, all of which many other counties do not possess. In fact, in a March 9 email, the county director stated that the county GIS office had updated county council files indicating the GIS department was providing assistance. The bottom line is other counties with less resources and less experience successfully redistricted their county council districts with no problems. I mean, it goes on in that vein. And so I guess it begs the question, why a wealthy county like Beaufort County with an experienced staff, these problems still arose, and I think that's what we need to get to the bottom of here.
Okay.
We'll ask, Ms. Thomas, give me just 1 minute. Let's finish with Mr. Knapp, and then we'll I think Senator Davis's question will be the director with you. Please, ma'am. Mr. Knapp, let me, if you will, just walk through the rest of, because again,
Sure.
What we've gotten to this point is we understand there was a redistricting problem. You understand what the magnitude of the problem was, both on the number of ballots that had been given out and the total number that you all have identified. Then what? In terms of the election itself, then what? Because that was what, there were lots of lingering questions
Sure.
that came after that.
So, and just to kind of finish up the redistricting issue, because this is what I need to make this point. The Beaufort County office identified these voters to be redistricted. What really happened, because this is what the redistricting process is that counties identify these voters need to be moved to this precinct. They let the SEC know, and we move them. That's the process that did not happen. The SEC was never told, hey, move these voters. So going back to the ballot issue, to fix this issue, we had to create a new election database. Now, an election database, it contains every ballot for every voter in the state. Each one of you may have very similar ballots, but you all have what's called a ballot style. You have different county council people, maybe state senate, et cetera. So we had to create a new database that involved everybody, and that's why election day went well. Everybody had the correct ballots. Everybody had been redistricted by us. So go into election night. I cannot speak to the overall delays in reporting, but I can speak to election night on that particular election. Our election night reporting tool, as on page 8, the middle paragraph pretty much spells out, each county has a single database, and that's the way the ENR tool works. It accepts a single database. Basically, if you have a Word document, you have people working on it, everyone's working on the same Word document, which is why you have on election night, Richland County will have partial results. They're uploading results from that same database. It's the same database as being overwritten with new and updated results. Here, we had a situation where Beaufort County had 2 databases. So Beaufort County staff worked their what's off to manually enter results from the old database into the new database. And I also want to kind of do a segue here. When we talk about, because there's a lot of talk about hand counting results, this is an illustration of what that would look like, and this was just for 15 precincts. Marie's deputy worked incredibly hard to manually enter all those results into the new database so it could be reported on election night, or on the election night tool. So that took a long time. That was the big delay. That's why it took forever for the results to come out. Beaufort did release what results they had, as you'll see at the top of page 9, 38 of its 98 precincts. after Beaufort County did their job, the state had to basically audit the results to ensure, because there was a lot, and we all remember it, there was a lot of talk in conspiracy theories, and maybe not conspiracy, but just theories about what they were hanging out there, questioning the validity of the election at every level, not just county council, but congressional, et cetera. So we audited this election using the old database, the new database, the results tapes from all the precincts to ensure the math added up, and it did. So it was not super quick, but we were methodical. We worked with the Beaufort County office and her people, and then we certified the election. So.
Okay, any questions?
I should add, after the summer on page 11, because I know y'all are going to ask about this, what do we do moving forward? So redistricting. The state has never, and the State Election Commission has never held or had a role in redistricting at the less than state level area. We worry about state house, state senate, Congress. The counties are responsible for everything countywide and less than. So, and those of you who have been around a while know Bobby Bowers was the backbone of redistricting forever in the state. He passed away. There was not a lot of support from agencies that had in the past supported counties in the SEC, and we had to rely on Bobby Bowers' protege, Will Roberts, who I think is now at Legislative Council, but basically, my agency needs a GIS person who will help with redistricting, not just the Senate in 2024, but voters are constantly moving in this state and throughout the state. And we need to make sure that people are in the physical boundaries they need to be in. So that's one thing that'll help my agency. And second of all, I'm not gonna say if, when there's another dual database situation, I am acquiring a tool that will just merge the two databases together to ensure that we don't have a 2 or 3 day delay publishing results if that happens again.
Any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Rivers.
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you correctly. The problem is that council or did not notify or get the information to where it should have gotten to. Because they're the ones who were part of the redistricting process, right?
Sure, the Beaufort County office did not notify the SEC. These people need to be moved.
It's the county office with you.
The Beaufort County Office of Voter Registration and Elections did, in fact, they certified a few times that everything looks good, and it wasn't. And we can't, there are hundreds of county council districts in this state, and it's not our responsibility to ensure. And that's why I said we're a state agency where we worry about state level offices.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
In summation on page 11, about midway through, you say, as has been shown, Beaufort County received multiple error lists. Tell me what they are, multiple error lists.
So error lists or kickout lists is basically other checks. Like I said, Will Roberts, who was then at the South Carolina State Senate, helping them with their redistricting. They and the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office, they did a check. And not just for county council, but for every redistricting plan to ensure voters were redistricted correctly. When a county says, SEC, move these voters, it doesn't matter what the office is for, the district, move these voters. After that move is done, another check is done to ensure that the voters were moved, the correct voters were moved, and there were no errors after that move occurred. Oftentimes there will be errors after that move has occurred. And so you'll have people living right on the boundaries that should or should not be in whatever district they were redistricted to. And that is what creates a kick out or an error list. It's basically a red flag. Hey, you need to look at these people and ensure at the street level they are in the district they're supposed to be in.
And so that happened here, and you guys
A few times.
notified Beaufort County.
Well, the state Senate notified Beaufort County.
But there's no record of Beaufort County then requesting that you move the voters.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp, for being here. Thank you for the report. Is there, you noted that the staff at the election office worked really hard on getting the two databases
They did.
combined. Was that started after the primary and worked up till the election day, or was that something that had to be done at the election day?
That had to be done after polls close,
Okay.
because they were inputting election results into the data from old
Not
to
have
new.
been done ahead of time.
No.
Literally, they had to do all of that work on that particular night, so.
And that's why when we say if y'all want hand counting of election results, you're going to be waiting months for election results. Think about if this were a congressional race, what this would have been like across 4 or 5 counties.
I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
you have 2 weeks.
No.
To be able to put these people in, to
No.
merge the databases. They had that one night.
They had 1 or 2 days total. I know Vernon, her deputy, worked the entire time, which was another reason we audited, because Vernon was exhausted. They all were, and we were too, but not as much as them. So they needed another set of eyes.
It doesn't negate the what happened in the beginning, but they were working as quickly as they could.
Sure.
The back end of correction.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Rivers?
I'm just curious as far as similar errors are going to happen, right? So I'm just curious percentage-wise across the state, because this may not be an anomaly. I mean, because whenever you're going to have multiple things, there are going to be mistakes. So I don't want to focus on mistake in one place and amplify that so it doesn't happen more regular.
We did not, I'm not going to sit here and say that no other county, I will say that no other county had these issues in the primary. Redistricting had just occurred, and I know the office had ample time at the county council level. There was a lot going on, and add on to it, the early voting bill just passed. So I'm not here to give excuses. What happened happened. I think we can move on from it. I think there were no other issues in the primaries that we saw. But again, statewide. Now, it is entirely possible that there were some people, I don't want to say that, never mind, I'm not going to say that. I just can't guarantee that no other county had issues. It's possible that voters went to the polls not knowing who to vote, like who was going to be on their ballot and voted. But we did not have any, the impetus for this was you had a county council candidate who went to go vote for himself and didn't find himself. And he was mad as hell, and I understand why. But, there were different checks that should have caught that well in advance. So basically an error occurred at both the state and the county worked their butts off to fix it.
To hear you correctly, you're saying based on everything that was going on, it was exacerbated by all the things that happened at the state level, redistricting, and all those things contributed to whatever we're talking about.
Yes, Representative, a lot of things contributed to this.
Thank you.
Senator.
And Mr. Camp, I want to preface this by saying that I get it, that I was on the Senate Redistricting Committee, and one of the problems we had, it was a hurry up and rush
Yes, Senator.
process with all of our public hearings and whatnot, because with the pandemic and everything that went on, we all, across the state, across the U.S., received the census numbers about 9 months late.
Yeah.
Put us all into a crunch.
Yes.
In looking at this, I'm trying to figure out the process without studying this along with your appendices. When did Beaufort County Council submit or complete and submit its redistricting plan?
On page 3, Beaufort County Council passed their plan on January 24th of 2022.
And when did it submit it? Who then submits that plan, I guess, to the Senate or to the delegation?
No, so the
For approval?
so that
It goes somewhere else.
No, the county council sets their own maps. So the maps are set by county council as they were on January 24th. It's then left to the election office and the county GIS to literally map it, move voters, determine which voters need to be redistricted, and then if you could kind of dive deep, they identify those voters, they tell the SEC, move the voters, they're moved.
And then those voters, just to break it down a little bit to layman's language, those voters, once that map that is approved after several hearings in county council is then submitted immediately to the county's election commission office, and then it's the responsibility of their workers to send out notice to the voters that, hey, Margie, you're gonna be in this district as opposed to this district in the next upcoming election, and the other arm of that office then sends that information maybe simultaneously or soon thereafter to your office so that you can put it into a system?
That's yes. So
That's an elementary version of
it is. It's, as you know, it's extremely more complex than that. And counties actually, well, so yeah, one arm of the county office would send out new voter registration cards once all redistricting was done. But it is a tedious process by the county and the county office and the county GIS office to identify down to the street level, Jane Doe and John Doe are moving to this district and such and so forth. So once those moves are identified, they fill out a form with us and say, SEC, move these voters in these districts. And then we push the button, they're moved. A check is done, sometimes a few times to make sure everything's right.
I see in your summary where there's a lot of reference to the amount of staff that Beaufort County has and the amount of members, increase in population in Beaufort County, I think was referenced. Who made the general reference in the summary and the moving forward? Who's responsible for making those conclusory statements regarding comparing Beaufort County and what went on here regarding the process that happened?
That would be me at the SEC, just knowing what other counties went through, how other county elections went. Just, yeah.
Did you, prior to making those summations about what should and should not have done, did you come and make an independent, have an independent review with the elections office here to see whether or not they, in fact, even though they had staff available, whether or not staff was actually here, or whether or not they had any other issues that might have affected their ability to carry out the process the way you saw?
I did not. I just know their total staff numbers in comparison at a high level to other county offices. And that's why I made the statement they have, in my opinion, as uninformed as it may be, enough FTEs to do the job. The largest office in the state is Richland, I believe, with about 19 or 20 people. And that's the second largest county in the state. I can't speak to Director Small's needs. Just like no other state agency head can tell me what I need unless they're me. But just from my outside observation, knowing what other counties are working with and how they perform, that's where those statements are coming from.
Did you talk directly with Director Smalls?
During this situation, yes.
And did she ever express any concerns about staffing or give any reason why this occurred?
No.
Did you ask?
No, I didn't. I assumed if there were reasons as to why events occurred, they would have been divulged to me, volunteered to me. And that's not to say that her existing staff wasn't experiencing or frankly going through hell at the time and wasn't exhausted. So I know they were. I'd say that's not to say her existing staff were not exhausted, which I know they were. She did tell us that these people working on these things, they're tired, they're exhausted. We've been here since, yesterday. So.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Senator.
To me, the question isn't whether they were working hard to correct things. I don't know why this thing arose in the first place. And to me, I don't know about the rest of the members of the delegation here, but this report is fairly damning in regard to having the resources, being alerted to the errors and not correcting those errors. And this is a serious matter. I mean, people were disenfranchised.
Mr. Rivers?
Yeah, I guess, so you were around during the last redistricting process as well?
No, that's, no. This is my third year in the office.
So, and I guess what I'm trying to ascertain is that, do track record means anything in the level of performance?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the track record of this office has been one of high quality before redistricting.
Overall performance, yes, I would say so.
So most times when you grade people, it's not on a one-time shot. It's based on the collection and the totality of their work.
Correct. This is as the title of this report says, this is not a report on the entire office, it's people or anything like that. This is a look at a specific process that was or was not done and how it affected one election.
So my thing then is will be seeing what unfair, almost the right word, to be punitive about one incident that's totally mostly out of control based on everything that was going on, as opposed to seeing it as a learning opportunity for the future. In this environment where punitivity is something that people look for, hopefully that doesn't happen here. Thanks.
Wait, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Senator.
I don't want to be punitive, but there ought to be consequences to what happened here.
Yeah,
I mean, and this isn't.
Point of order.
Consequences is how you learn. So hopefully we.
Gentlemen, bear with me 1 minute. Yeah, Senator.
I believe the point of order should be that the representative was asking a question of the presenter, and I just point of order that he should be permitted to do that.
Thank you.
And if Mr. Davis has any responses, he should be allowed to do that too.
I thought I had been recognized. I apologize.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Rivers?
No, I was just saying that consequences are good, but we got to go with what have been shown to work with people on good, bad overnight.
Thank you. Senator?
I'm not.
Okay, guys, let me remind you of what I said when I started out. There's an Attorney General's opinion that makes it clear our role with regard to these issues are very limited, right? I mean, obviously, we pass the laws or among the group that passes the laws, but I mean, our role as a delegation is limited to the appointments on the board. And this was an issue that exploded in the backdrop of questions from the last national election and how important it was to get it right. And we didn't get it right here for whatever reason. And part of what we're doing today is to try to understand why, to make sure that if there are issues identified, that there are staff shortages, that the county council is aware of that we're aware of that, the role that our appointees have on the board, what we need to do to make sure that something like this does not happen again, and to ensure the citizens in this part of South Carolina that this election was fair, it was appropriate, these errors were dealt with in a timely manner, the election was audited, the results are proper, that came out, but that there are consequences naturally from problems, and we're part of the identifying that and looking at what that is. So I just want to put that context out there for all of us to keep in mind. Representative Bradley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, what Mr. Newton just said, except for the last bit, is that, no, I mean, is that what happened? I mean, the way he characterized it was identified and these problems happen, it's been corrected, and it's not.
The problems manifested themselves, they were addressed, and they were remediated. And I have in my report what we can do in the future to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Okay, thank you.
And I say that as the head of the State Election Commission. I don't know if every problem in that office has been fixed, if what problems exist, as a caveat. But from my perspective as an agency head, the issue at hand was dealt with.
Please.
Is it that there's just so much data that it's impossible? I mean, when you talked a couple of times today about being down at the street level.
Sure.
And that makes me take a deep breath.
Me too.
Thinking that you have to be down at the street level. You're running a county. And how many voters do we have in the county?
About 135,000.
135,000. So you have to know the location of 135,000 people. But at the same time, 3,200 people to 135,000 is about 3%. That's a pretty sizable chunk, all in all.
It is.
And I guess you'll talk about maybe what safeguards we have from this happening again. So I'll stop right there.
Okay.
The last thing that I would ask is from the state's perspective. Are our records correct now in Beaufort County in terms of redistricting? To the extent that you all have done your check, that Will Roberts has been involved with doing all that? I mean,
To my knowledge, everything is checked out for Congress and the State House, and we're going to get rolling on the State Senate in 2024. So, yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Thank you very much. Other questions?
They're not.
Thanks very much. Don't go anywhere. We may have a follow-up. Ms. Smalls, thank you for being here.
Thank you all for allowing Beaufort County an opportunity to speak in front of you today. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Knapp for coming down and trying to explain what was a very difficult night for us at the Beaufort County Voter Registration Office. And as you know, in the past, and Howard can attest for this as well, Beaufort County had pretty much an exemplary record. And when the error occurred and it came to our attention, we immediately contacted the State Election Commission to assist us with resolving the issues. And if you notice in your report, there were 70 voters who may not have gotten the correct ballot, okay? So the issue was corrected immediately once it was brought to our attention. Now, so far as redistricting is concerned, yes, we are responsible for making sure that every voter has the correct district on the county level. Well, every level, really. But our GIS department provided us the data. And you know, we have one of the best GIS in the whole state of South Carolina. And they provided us the street data. We attempted to input all of that data, which we did. And when we got the kick-out report, which is he referenced as the error report, was on May 26th, if I'm not mistaken. We thought we were done with redistricting. We thought that all of our streets were updated, and the number of errors that were kicked out, it sounds like it was 3,000 people. They were 3,000 addresses, okay? Some of these are apartment buildings, and so it may seem to be astronomical, but it wasn't that bad. It was bad enough. One is too many, as far as I'm concerned. So you have to look at it on an address-by-address basis. And so we are responsible for making sure every voter is, according to their address, is in the correct district. And when you have apartment complexes with the same number, just maybe a different apartment, it's going to appear more than it really is. What we did was, there's enough blame to go around on our level, state level as well, but it's my responsibility to make sure that this information is correct. And so I must say, and I apologize that it was because I am the director, all right? And I'm not blaming staff, because staff did the best that they can, but the best that they could. And so we, as a staff, along with the State Election Commission, came up with a plan to mitigate the damages that were done and correct them. I don't want to say we fixed them, but we tried to correct them. And I think in the end, we reported the correct results, even though we spent numerous hours there, and that's okay, because we realized, along with my board chair, who's sitting right behind me, realized that we had to get it done. And rerunning every single ballot that was cast in Beaufort County is what we did. When we certified our election on that Friday, the board certified the correct results, all right? And so I think we can continue to blame folks about this and blame folks about that, but we did what we needed to do. It was an unfortunate incident, and again, I can't do anything else. We are human. When we contacted our GIS department about the discrepancy in what was coming back on the report and what they initially gave us, they found that there was a difference in the data that was up at the Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office versus what they had. So what GIS did, which was, I commend them because they were so accommodating to us, is they went line by line on that report and told us what the differences were and what it was before and what it should be. And some of them didn't change because, like Mr. Knapp said, it was right on the line. So even though it may have showed up as an error, it was not an error at all. So, it's one of those things, in order for you to do it, you have to actually physically audit street by street by street, house number by house number by house number, to make sure that every voter is in the correct district. And I feel comfortable now that that has taken place. Beaufort County should not be worried about whether or not their voters, whether or not they're in the correct district. And again, Beaufort County submitted their redistricting data, I think, back in January. We didn't start the redistricting process until April. And we had early voting beginning in May. Okay, and then all the changes that came to us on the 13th, which kind of like exacerbated the situation. Again, I'm not making excuses for anything that happened, but it was a lot going on within a short period of time. All right. So far as your concerns about election results coming in late, I know that in the past, before we went to the new voting equipment, that we were working with a piece of equipment that we modem our results in from the outskirts of the county to our office, and we stopped that many years ago because of security reasons. So, we don't do that anymore. All of our results are driven in from Hilton Head and Bluffton to the Beaufort office, which takes time. And not only does it take time, we have to verify the information once it gets to us before we report it. I know it's not very timely, but by the time the results come from the precinct to the drop-off site, and those, the information, whether or not everybody's got their thumb drive with the information, the paper ballots that they need, if once that's verified, then it's coming to the Beaufort office and we upload the results. That's what's taking so long. And I know it's like, we can't report it if it's not here. And I know everybody wants their results immediately, but we prefer to make sure that we would prefer that our results are correct and not timely, versus timely. So it's still going to be late. It's still going to be late because you have to come from Hilton Head, and it's an hour drive, at least an hour drive from Hilton Head. And by the time the poll is closed and results are verified at the precinct, and we making sure that they bring everything back that we need on election night to report, it could be 2.5 hours later. So that's the reason why the results are coming in later than you guys used to seeing them, because we do not transfer anything by modem anymore. Everything is being physically done.
Senator Davis.
Chairman, Ms. Miles, have you seen a copy of this report that the State
Yes,
Election
I
Commission.
saw it this morning, yes.
I'm going to read the summation. It says, in summation, the State Election Commission reviewed the redistricting data from Beaufort County and found that Beaufort County understood voters needed to be redistricted at the county council level, but never redistricted them, nor asked the State Election Commission to manually redistrict any voters. As has been shown, Beaufort County received multiple error lists, but there is no record of Beaufort County requesting the State Election Commission to move the voters. Do you dispute that? Did you
Yes.
receive multiple
Yes.
error lists and not request the moving of those voters?
Right. What happened, when we got that report, we were on a call with the State Election Commission, Mr. Leach, Brian Leach, and we were under the assumption that everything was going to be updated on that Friday night when they ran their report. It was my understanding, all right? Obviously, that was not the case, all right? So when I contacted Brian, what happened to update? Oh, that changed after we went into the early voting option. And so it was updated the week before, not the Friday that we were told that it was going to get updated. Again, it was a miscommunication. We verbally spoke with the State Election Commission about the errors that we had and that it was corrected. So it was corrected. It was not corrected on the state level. So I do dispute the fact that you said that it was not corrected. We did. That's the report we got from our I know, I'm saying. That's the report we got from our GIS department that went line by line, and we went into the system and updated all that information, and it just never got updated on the state level.
So it's the State Election Commission's error.
Like I said, there's enough blame to go around. It was I'm going to say it's a miscommunication because I didn't put it in writing. I spoke to the Brian Leach, who is responsible for running the redistricting report and all other changes, address changes and everything else that was taking place.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Smalls, let me ask you a question. I mentioned about the delay, and I appreciate, I remember at the time when the county first went to the new machines and the modem and getting information, and obviously questions and concerns about modems and plugged into the internet. Well, geographically, we're not the biggest county in the state.
No, we're not.
So, I mean, point to point, I get it. Hilton Head, you got the water. It's about, for 13 years while I came and sat in this seat, I drove from the south end to Hilton Head. So I understand that challenge, but I also know the geography of the rest of the state. We seem to lag in getting our result. I understand the explanation. What I don't understand is how the other counties that are equally as big as we are, that have polling places in as remote locations as we do, seem to be able to report to the state system on a consistent basis more timely than we do.
Again, that's a question I cannot answer. I can only tell you what the process is here. What they do, from my understanding, is every poll manager, even the ones, say Charleston County being one of the biggest counties, they drive their results in directly to the election central office, and we do not require that of our poll workers. A lot of our poll workers do not even drive at night. So if I ask someone that live on Sea Pines, 85-year-old poll worker, to drive to Beaufort County at 8 or 9 o'clock at night to bring their results, then they're going to have to drive back. They are not going to do that.
So how do you get them now?
They go to, the folks on Hilton Head go to the Hilton Head Library. They drop off their results there. We verify there at Hilton Head Library that they have brought us the zero tape, the results tape, the thumb drive, the ballots, ballot cards and everything else. And then we take those results and drive them to Beaufort. We have about 27 locations on Hilton Head, and I don't know how many in Bluffton, but there's a lot in Bluffton as well. And they code, the folks in Bluffton and Sun City, they move their results over to the Bluffton office. We have a satellite office in Bluffton, and it gets verified there. Okay, and then they drive those results over here. And the reason why I'm saying saying that because almost every election, we have someone, one of those poll managers, who may forget something. And if they come to Beaufort and we discover that they forget something, now they're going to have to drive all the way back to Bluffton and or Hilton Head to get whatever they may have left and come back to Beaufort, which will delay the results even longer. So the process that we have in place is we call them drop-off sites. And so it kind of minimizes the folks having to drive such a long distance, and if they forget something, having to go all the way back.
So we, everybody on Hilton Head drives their stuff to the library. We wait until we got everybody's in the library. Then we drive it to Bluffton, and we wait there.
No, they drive it to Beaufort. They come to Beaufort.
Oh, so the Bluffton and then.
The Bluffton does it by themselves.
Does the rest of the state do it that way?
I wish, Charles.
Okay, I wish, that, and I know there are a couple of members of the board, you all would look, because one of the biggest complaints that I know I get is, why does Beaufort County seem to be the slowest reporting county of anybody in the state? And it's not this past election, obviously we had the problems and the double, and the retabulation that had to be done. It's, ever since the modem quit being used, it's every election. And we get it. And I know that out of 46 counties, that somebody's figured out how to do it without the concern of somebody might have to drive late at night and drive home. But I just think we owe the taxpayers and voters more accurate information than one that is at midnight or 2 a.m. And I think we ought to figure out how to do that. Yes, ma'am.
I think my mic might have been turned off on purpose by someone, but I'll speak up a little bit louder. Senator Campson is not here, but I think I could probably speak for myself on this issue, being one of the ones on this board, on this delegation. I represent Charleston County. My results come in last every time in Charleston County. I wish that they would implement a process that Beaufort has where, because they have to come from the islands. They have to come from Edisto Island and go all the way to North Charleston. And that has always been a problem, especially when the bridge, we had problems with the bridge, the main road bridge going down and other issues. So when I have gotten I'm just a baby senator, but I've been through 3 cycles. Beaufort County's results have come in even quicker than Colleton. So my experience, because Colleton complains that they have to wait for Edisto Beach, and they will have the folks from that Edisto Beach coming in individually and not in a collection site. Charleston doesn't have the collection site. They probably need to implement that, because I know to you all, it might seem that we're coming in last. But I think Mr. Knapp, even though he's only been there 3 years, Richland County is notorious for being the last, okay?
And they're right next door.
And they're right down the street from the election commission. So I just want to say that I understand there's been a problem this last term, but in my experience, Beaufort County has gotten me results. And I, as a candidate, can call and get those results and get them real time, whereas even across the street from my office, it's hard for me to get the results from Edisto Beach. So I'm not necessarily feeling what you're feeling, and I always know that I have to wait until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get my Charleston results.
Got it.
And I wish Campson was here so he could explain what he experiences.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Ms. Moles, let me just, one last thing, and this is just a suggestion and for the board as well. When you all realized that there was a problem with these 70, Beaufort County should have done a better job, in my humble opinion, letting people know that there was a problem. As chairman of the delegation, Mr. Knapp called me to tell me that there was a problem after I read in the newspaper, and all of us did in Columbia, about the problems. And I mean, each of our respective devices, whether it be phones, emails, exploded with people in Beaufort County complaining about improper ballots being given out. And we were in a vacuum. We didn't have any good information to share with anybody. Quite frankly, we didn't know what had happened. And we're trying to begin to sort it out. And Mr. Knapp called me to make sure that I was aware, and purely as a conduit. And then I sent out a memo that went to all members of the delegation about the constituent concerns, and just that we would have this follow-up session. So I would encourage you all to communicate, whether it's with Ms. Maxey, whether it's the county administrator. People need to know when there's a problem, so we get in front of this for the integrity of the entire voting process, not so that on the backside we're all, you know, who's hiding the ball and why are people not being forthcoming. So appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Was the problem realized when the early voting started, or was it realized on election day?
Early voting.
When Mr. Covert went to vote.
He went in early vote, he tried to early vote?
Yeah, I mean, there's some other questions about how he was able to sign up to run in that office when he hadn't been redistricted to that office, but there's allusion to that in this report. Nonetheless, I'm not sure that is of consequence. Okay, any other questions? Ms. Smalls?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Ms. Erickson, brief update on the position we announced, resumes, application for the VA director position.
Yes, sir, we have received 24 completed applications. The application process is closed. The delegation will receive a Zoom meeting notice from me in the next couple of weeks with your approval to set up online Zoom interviews with the candidates that meet the requirements that will fill the position with the highest quality.
Okay, and as you all know, Ms. Erickson offered to vet all of the applications with a committee made up of anybody on the delegation that wanted to serve on it and make a recommendation back to the delegation. That does not preclude the delegation's consideration of any and all of the applicants who have been submitted. Each of you all should have been provided the full package of applications from Ms. Maxey. If you didn't get them, please see Ms. Maxey and get another copy of them. So at an upcoming meeting, we'll be, looking at that. Next, we move to the boards and commission appointments. Let me first start by saying that of the list that are here, the second bullet point, which is the Beaufort Jasper Water and Sewer Authority, Representative Herb Kurzman reached out to me before he left the country and asked that we please carry that over. Those appointments until he is here the next time. What is before us is a town reappointment and a couple of county council reappointments. He indicated that he had some communications with some county folks and just asked that we please carry that over. The second one with regard to the TCL commission, I'm going to suggest that one be carried over simply because of the timing. You know, as you all know, we made the decision that we would start fully announcing not just vacant positions, but positions that would be open for either appointment or reappointment. There was that particular board was only first included in the advertisement that went out last week. So while we have gotten the request for the two folks that are there now to be reappointed, and we have received one other, I think that probably warrants being carried over, just in the spirit of we agreed that we were going to make sure we had proper notice, and that one had not previously been noticed. The two that are up for appointment or reappointment or new appointments, they're in a holdover status since the summer, so that's not one that's been lingering long. Accordingly, the first one that we have to address is the Beaufort Jasper Higher Education Commission. There are two vacant positions Vanita Dorr and Carolyn Banner, and one expired term, Dr. Pierce. We have one application for Ms. Dorr's former seat, and that would be Emery Wayne Rushton. And then we also have one for reappointment, which would be Dr. Pierce's seat. So we have not received only those two for 3 potential spots. This was properly advertised in the paper prior to our actually meeting in April. So it has been sufficiently noticed. And we have before us today those 2 applicants.
Yes, sir. I would move that we accept the 2.
Second.
Thank you, and that is accepting Mr. Emery Wayne Rushton for Ms. Dorr's, the seat that formerly held by her. He'll be completing a 4-year term that began June 30, 2022, and Dr. Pierce, a 4-year term reappointment, the term that began June 30, 2022.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And do you have, Ms. Maxey, do you have appointment sheets?
I have
for
them, sir.
Those, or are those what's in this folder? I'm gonna give those to Ms. Erickson, let her
Yes,
pull
sir.
out the ones with the tag and circulate them as we come to them. Okay, the next, unless there's an objection, we're gonna carry over BJWSA. Water and sewer, we would be South Island Public Service District. We have an expired term and an individual seeking reappointment to that term. We also have a vacant position, Gail Quick, and we have 2 applications for appointment to that. Dr. Elaine Hattatala and Mr. David Martin. The applications, you all have copies of them, and they're in your packet as well. Is there a motion?
Move to accept.
Okay, Ms. Erickson, is that moved to, we got 3 for 2.
Oh, I'm so
We
sorry.
gotta have some,
Busy signing too.
Senator Davis?
I would move favorable appointment of Mr. David Martin.
Okay. Independently, just in consideration of that,
And I guess I'll couple that with the, with Mr. Vaughn also for reappointment.
okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, again, and those would be Mr. David Martin and Mr. James Vaughn, and Mr. Vaughn is a 3-year term that began July 1, 2022. The filling out of Ms. Quick's term, and Cindy, correct me, but the term expires July 1, 2023, so it's only a 1-year partial term appointment until that time, correct? Okay. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, which one was the short appointment?
Mr. Martin
Mr. Martin, got it.
is filling that, so he'll come up sooner rather than later. The next is the Foster Care Review Board, 2 expired terms. We have, this was properly advertised. One of the 2 expired terms is our recommendation. One is from Beaufort County Council. The 2 expired terms are Cindy Graves, that is our appointment. Ms. Graves has asked to, and the application is included, be reappointed. And it would be a 4-year term beginning June 30, 2022. Jimmy Mackey is a Beaufort County Council appointment. We have not yet received word from the county as to council's recommendation for that reappointment. So what's before us today is Ms. Graves.
I would move for reappointment of Ms. Graves.
Thank you.
Amy Graves.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Erickson, second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Mr. Chairman, please note me as recusing myself on that one.
Yes, sir, I will. And is that recusal both for you and for
Me and
Senator
for Senator
Campson? Okay. We got that. Ms. Erickson has the submission forms, and we'll note that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're down to the last, which is our public comment session. I see we got a number of judicial candidates that are here. Ms. Maxey, I don't know whether you have a sign-up sheet or whether we just want to invite folks to come on up, spend a few minutes saying hello since they drove here from the hinterlands.
Yep, there you
Thank
go.
you. We do have a sheet. Good. I'm good, but I'm not that good at reading that. But I'll get you to read what it says for me in a minute.
Some of the handwriting might be kind of questionable.
That's all right. The first we got on here is Casey, Michelle Casey. You're not a judicial candidate, but you're here. Maybe you're a judicial candidate. It doesn't look like it, but how are you?
Good morning. I was on the county council meeting the other day and was invited to come and talk to you just briefly. I'm the new executive director with NAMI Low Country, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I'm here today to inform you that we are forming a coalition with partner agencies, just as the Department of Mental Health. I've spoken with Philip Foote, and our programs work in the community. And in the year that I've been in my position, I'm new to NAMI, not new to NAMI Low Country, but new to the position. Sarah Law herself retired at 80 years old. Can you imagine that? But I'm here to let you know that I've recognized some gaps in the community, and with my partner agencies, we would like to put together the coalition and present to you at the next meeting some findings that I think that we could offer some solutions to fill the gaps, to offset the weight and the burden that law enforcement are having to manage with mental health issues, some of the gaps that we're seeing with the Department of Mental Health, and some of the gaps that just people are having difficulty, low-income people particularly, having access to care. There are 200,000 people in, or almost 200,000 people in Beaufort County. NAMI Low Country serves 5 counties, so does the Department of Mental Health. 1 in 5 suffer with mental illness, so if we just count Beaufort County alone, that's about 40,000 people. If we imagine that maybe half of those people have access to care and are functioning well, that would be great. Then let's imagine that we have maybe half of that are maybe dealing with self-medication, and that's increasing then the incidence of domestic violence or things that are happening there. We can get those numbers and those metrics for you, and I'd like to have the opportunity to bring those numbers and to work with the partner agencies that I've mentioned at a meeting to where we can offer some solutions to fill the gaps. There are some gaps in the community that if we could be proactive with, you would certainly lighten the load and help more people get the access to care that they need. Thank you.
Ms. Casey, thank you very much, and appreciate what you do. Important organization, important activities, and I know I speak on behalf of the delegation. We're grateful for all of you all's hard work, and would love to work with you all in any way that we possibly can.
Thank you for that opportunity. I look forward to meeting with you again. Does anybody have any questions?
Other questions?
Comment.
Ms. Erickson?
I don't know if this is supposed to be green or red. Okay.
Talk loudly.
I'll talk loudly enough. We just had World Mental Health Day this week, and I hope you don't mind, I tagged you on all my social media because NAMI does such an incredible job, and the NAMI, the Low Country, is just superior. And I thank you so much for taking on that work, and multiple counties. So let everybody know your resources and that you guys really step up above and beyond. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're a grassroots community, and we are the only free mental health service in serving those 5 counties. So we appreciate your support. Please get the name out there. You'd be surprised to know how many people don't know that we exist. So please do that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, Senator.
Just a quick question. You were talking about the gaps. Have you been working with our new drug court, mental health court that the 14th Judicial Circuit has implemented?
I've been working with the mental health advocate for Beaufort County. And one of the problems, no, I don't know about that, ma'am, and one of the problems that I'm recognizing in my time here is how fragmented agencies are. And I often say that we all know that who lives in the neighborhood, but we've never been in each other's houses. So it's time that we get more familiar with the programs and the resources available so that we all are fluent in those resources and we know how to help.
I would like some of it so that I can transfer it to them, because I see the drugs and the mental health issues, they're so intertwined. I think they are in the same household.
Yes, I do work with Beaufort Alcohol and Addiction and with Galen Stirrup over there. So we're building the coalition. There's a strong need for a mental health coalition that's active in the community and that can address those needs collaboratively. So look forward to doing that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Patrick Fant, good afternoon. You can stand up wherever you want.
Thank you. Patrick Fant, and I'm from Greenville, and I'm running for Circuit Court at Large, seat number 3, and I'm grateful for y'all's time. Thank you. I've always been told to be through.
It's a virtue.
Yep, Chad McCutcheon.
Thank you all for having me here. I'm Chad McCutcheon. I'm from Orangeburg, South Carolina. I've been practicing law for 20 years, and I'm also running for the Circuit Court at-large Seat 3 position, which is currently being held by the Honorable Clifton Newman.
Ms. Felix, Jean Felix, anything?
No, nothing's.
Thanks for being here and appreciate your work on behalf of the county. Anthony Goldman.
I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Anthony Goldman. I live in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm a judicial candidate for Seat 5 at the South Carolina Administrative Law Court. I've worked at the court for 15 years. I was Judge John McLeod's law clerk. He's currently retired. He's from Winsboro. And I've worked for the Honorable Milton G. Kimpson for the past 5 years. And I can say that I've truly enjoyed working for the state of South Carolina for the past 15 years, and I would embrace an opportunity to continue doing such wonderful work for the state. It's really a great agency to work for, and I've had a prior career in banking and finance. I have a graduate degree in economics, and it gives me perspective on the quality of work that that agency does and what it does for the businesses and individuals, the residents of the state of South Carolina. And thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Margie Pizarro.
Yes.
But you were calling me up?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Margie Pizarro. I am a candidate for the Family Court for the First Judicial Circuit, seat number 3, which encompasses Dorchester County and Orangeburg County. I am a native of Colleton County, graduated from Walterboro High School, continued my education at Clemson with a degree in education. Also have a master's from Go Tigers. Also have a master's from Columbia College, and of course my JD is from the Charleston School of Law. Prior to attending law school as a single parent, I taught school in the Greenville County for 12 years. So I think that gives me an interesting perspective as it relates to juveniles, and certainly as it relates to our children in custody matters and helping them get to the next level in life. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you all at the appropriate time to discuss my qualifications and my desire to return to public service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Elaine Hatala. Did I get that right?
Yes, I was here for the South Island Public Service District. I applied for a position there.
Got it. Well, thank you for the offer to serve. Just because we don't have enough spots to fill everybody that applies, please continue to watch the information that we have, and we appreciate your willingness to want to serve the citizens of Beaufort County.
Indeed, it's an important role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tab Tabernick. You want to run for a judgeship?
No, and obviously I didn't look at what I signed up for, but I would like to, I am one of the candidates for County Council District 6. So I was embroiled in what we all talked about. So I want to thank the delegation for investigating. I appreciate that it's fixed, and every vote must count, and that's where we need to go. So thank you.
Thanks for being here. Now, the next one, the handwriting is awful. And no, I know who it is because I recognize the handwriting from however long I was here on county council. No, Mr. McPhee?
That's cool.
I mean, nobody could make that out. I mean, if I'd had you say Joe Hoffa or somebody. Look right there. But I remember I saw that signature for 13 years while I
Marty McFly.
Yeah. Good afternoon, regardless. Welcome. Always nice to see you.
Thank you
Seems
so
like
very
old
much.
times.
I have to apologize to the delegation. I, out of creature of habit, signed that form coming into this meeting. I apologize. But it is good to see all of y'all, and I do hope that Mr. Bell and I will be able to have some time after this meeting with some of y'all, if y'all have time, to talk about some of the Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority stuff, just to bring you up to date. Thank you very much. Good to see y'all.
Always a pleasure, Mr. McPhee. Good to see you. Joe
I apologize for the handwriting, sir.
No, listen, mine's even worse.
Mr. Rivers, you got that? I didn't know if I was going to make it, sir. Thank you. You're doing a wonderful job, you guys. So you don't have to tell what district you're in. You have to tell what district you're in and be able to read handwriting. Good afternoon. My name is Joe Mack, speaking on behalf of Beaufort Trailblazers, which we advocate for mountain biking trails, also known as multi-use trails. Mr. Michael Rivers just commented earlier at this meeting about not a whole lot to do for young people, or something to that effect. I can certainly relate to that growing up in Beaufort. It's a nice place. We just got a little tweaking to do. Mountain biking is the fastest growing sport in high school. There are 11 teams in South Carolina. The community, in a way, has had their town cheated and stolen when it comes to parks and recreation. There is a piece of land in private hands that would have a hefty price tag if it were sold. The land is located a little west of Beaufort. A trail system, multi-use, could potentially fit on the land. Cynthia was kind enough to give a letter to Mr. Newton that shows a map of this land. I only have one copy. That's it. I only have one copy. Especially 18 and up, the ages, there's nothing here. They don't own boats, especially the younger you go, they don't own boats. Once the county screws us, for lack of a better word, it would seem like they will do it, there's many different issues, but it seemed like they will do it the 17th time, the 27th, the 37th time. We hope you understand these issues. Beaufort County, depends who you ask. They have a great reputation or they have a horrible reputation. And the Parks and Rec, I won't comment on that part. I'll just keep it clean. I'm trying to keep this as clean and upbeat as possible. Everyone deserves a great park. There's great leadership in the city of Beaufort now. They're much more for parks. There's plenty of individuals running around this county that are anti-parks. There's always going to be that opposition. And if it's an individual and they're sitting on one of these boards like you all, I know there's no one up here that's anti-park. So, but some of these people sit in powerful positions, even though you might be higher than them. So, we can't make a horse drink water. But I'm just bringing this to your attention, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Senator, you got a copy of that map, this drawing. I'll get, Mr. Mack, if you'll just make sure everybody on the delegation gets a copy of that.
This is not a map.
Well, Mr. Mack submitted it and described it that way. Where's the north arrow?
It's informative, though.
Yeah, it's helpful. Emmanuel Ferguson.
It's a map.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel Ferguson. I'm a native of Charleston, practice law there. I'm a candidate for the at-large seat 3.
Popular spot.
How many are in that race?
How many? 9? Holy cow.
But enough about them.
All right, good save.
I'm an attorney. I'm a former prosecutor, and I currently serve as a municipal court judge in Charleston. So before I was an attorney, I was a teacher, an educator, military magnet in a public school in Charleston, in North Charleston. Before that, I worked at a bank, and I tried to get my financial advisor's certification, but I got into law school. But before that, my mama carried me to church. So I've got common ground with everyone here. I really look forward to the opportunity to further introduce myself when the time is appropriate. And when I get that one-on-one time with you, please remind me to tell you the story about when I was a federal prosecutor and we were able to secure a conviction of a bank robber using a pair of blue underwear. It's a good story. Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Ferguson.
Now you piqued my interest.
Yeah, no kidding. Can you just give us the Reader's Digest version real quick? Save yourself some trouble.
You have to meet with me to get that story.
Carrie Gorse. Carrie, judicial, from the city of Beaufort.
No.
Gone. Linda Roper, city of Beaufort.
I think there are some people signed up from the city and county as a sign.
They don't need to speak. They just want you to know they were here.
Got it. Councilwoman Howard, you're on here. You want to come?
Thank you, Alice.
I got a note that Judge Tripp Anderson couldn't be here today due to court, but sends his wishes. And then apparently, Ms. Maxey, there's another judicial candidate. Any other judicial? Come on and say hello to us. Introduce yourself in case anybody doesn't know who you are.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the delegation. I'm Stephanie Mcdonald from Charleston. I think I know most of you. I am in the same race that Judge Anderson is. He had court today. I had court last week and next week, so I was able to come. I also don't ever miss an opportunity to come to Beaufort. I am from Charleston, but I grew up in the summers here with my Pendarvis family at Land's End, my Myrick cousins at Fripp, and my Baker aunts and uncles at Estill Beach. So one of the saddest things about leaving the circuit court, where I served for 3 years, to go to the Court of Appeals, where I've been for 8, was that I didn't get to hold court in Beaufort with Jerry anymore, because I was second to Charleston and Berkeley, which is where my office is. I was in Beaufort the most. There are 4 of us in the race for the upcoming vacancy on the South Carolina Supreme Court. That is Justice Hearn's vacancy. She is the only coastal representation we currently have, the only female we currently have, and the Low Country has not had representation on the South Carolina Supreme Court in almost 50 years, since 1975, when Judge Bussey from Charleston was there. So that is why friends have encouraged me to run. I look forward to answering any questions you have. I'm available to meet with you whenever I'm not in court. I did serve as a lawyer for 17 years, did a lot of litigation, some with Senator Bright Matthews in Charleston with an all-female firm. My practice was about 50% trial work in federal and state court and about 50% appellate work in federal and state court. So I'm going to give it a shot. I love the job I currently have, but I think it's time for Charleston, Beaufort, and the Low Country to have somebody on the court.
Yes, ma'am.
Before I say what I've got to say, just a quick, where is Estill Beach?
Bluffton.
I've never heard of it.
It's tiny. It's not really.
I thought she was trying to say that there's a beach in Estill, South Carolina.
Well, the people from Estill call it Estill Beach, but it's mostly Bakers and Harpers and such.
I know where that is. You lost me there.
It's not a real beach in Estill.
Hey, easy now.
Well,
In
we
some
can't,
people's minds,
the federal prison is. But thank y'all.
I wish you luck.
Thank you.
I hope you can bring it home for the Low Country.
Well, I'm going to work as hard as I can, so it'll depend on what the two bodies, the House and the Senate, decide is appropriate, but it's not going to be because I didn't work hard enough, I hope. So thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other judicial candidates that are here? Anybody else here that would like to address us? Well, quickly, before we adjourn, I've got two notes, Ms. Smalls, Ms. Felix, for you all. These are issues that the chairman of the county council has shared with me for you all to consider, and if you will, get back to us with a response. The first is the request for a new polling place in Riverbend Lodge that would serve all of Sun City District 5 residents who now have to leave Sun City to vote. Apparently, the board of directors of Sun City approved the new polling place. I think the information may have been sent to voter registration. Apparently, there's 1,200 people that now have to leave Sun City to vote. I'm not looking for an answer today, but relaying that information. The next is a concern about some folks in Belfair, that they are one of two houses in Belfair that have to leave Belfair, despite the fact that there's a polling location within 1,000 yards of their house, and they have to leave and drive to Rose Hill. And require them to then travel to Bluffton Middle School to be able to vote in that Rose Hill precinct. So I just passed both of these on. I've not had a chance to make any inquiries about them or understand those. You all may already have that information, but if you would share the information back with Ms. Maxey. Yes, ma'am.
Is that generally the way it's done, that county council sends the message through us and then it goes to the county office? Or does county council, since they're county council, send it to the county elections commission? It seems like we're going up and then down. They should be able to send a specific letter directly to their county office.
And Senator, they did.
Our job is only to, like you said earlier, only to appoint the members on.
Well, we have some approval authority with regard to polling places and that sort of stuff, but I think he just shared with me this information that had been shared, asked if I could, but now that I've been tagged with it on behalf of all of us, I'm trying to get some answers so that it doesn't tag somebody else and y'all come back and say, hey, Newton, why didn't you ask the question?
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm trying to do. Ms. Erickson.
I would just like to note, Mr. Chairman, that our clerk of court, Jerry Rose, now is in the house. Thank you.
Oh, there she is back there. And we saw Ms. Howard earlier, who is here, generally sitting up here on this dais and back there. Thank you for your service. Any other elected folks in the room? Well, thank all of you all for being here. You folks from out of town, stay through lunch, spend a little money in Beaufort before you go.
Lots of good places to go eat. Just ask me, I'll tell you.
No shame to your game.
No, absolutely not. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr.